So hello, welcome to the Period 3 update on the Vindolanda excavations. You might have noticed I'm not Marta. Marta is well, she's fine. She's working on our other excavations for the next couple of days, so this heavy burden has fallen to me to give you an update. What's been going on in the last 2 or 3 weeks on the Vindolanda excavations? Well, the first thing is this incredible weather has continued. It's been so hot and so dry, really unusual. And it's turned our site into a sort of version of the Mediterranean in terms of dust and really bleached soil. That makes it challenging for us to see all the colours in the ground. So there's certain areas we haven't been able to excavate because we need a little bit of water down there to bring the colours for pits and other sunken features back so we can excavate them properly. However, it doesn't mean we haven't made some serious progress with the volunteers and the team this week. So let's start by looking behind me at the building that was just covered in rubble here at the beginning of the period. This is the last of the barrack blocks that wasn't excavated by Paul Bidwell. We can see now we've got the floor surfaces of the very last Roman periods starting to emerge. And we've got little doorways linking between rooms, and we've got room divides. In actual fact, there are 4 separate rooms inside this building, each one giving us different little insights into life here 2,000 years ago. Now, under this structure, we have our traditional 3rd century barracks. And if we cross over the little street here, we can see we've made some real progress on that effort as well. So last period, where I'm standing was all grass, it was all turf. And you couldn't see this wall, which is now starting to develop, coming through the trench here, heading towards the big pile of rubble behind me. And it's quite exciting to see because this is the original 3rd century barrack. And we've got the little barrack walls starting to cross, linking with the side of the road. And each of these little rooms are a contubernia. We'd have 8 Roman soldiers, their families, their slaves, all living packed into those spaces. So there's quite a lot of material on the floors. But this is the challenge. We can get down to this level, but while it's so dry, we can't really go any lower than this, because hidden amongst the flagstones and amongst these stones and the floors here are sunken pits with some really nice material. So if we come into this particular building, this little room, we get an example of that. Just a little glimpse on what's going to go on the next level down. Because the lower you go, the better condition things tend to be. Like this beautiful little Samian bowl that's buried under the room. Now we're going to get into that hopefully next week when we get a little bit of rain, and we'll see what that bowl is actually sitting in. As we continue up the barrack, we hit a very large, quite exciting mound of rubble. But it's a circular mound of rubble crossing over the barrack wall just on the other side of the street with a little bit of an extension which goes to the main road on the other side. And underneath this rubble, which has been beautifully excavated by my team, this is actually a form of torture, excavating rubble. You've got to be so careful not to move the stones, but to get all the soil out so we can see the features and what sort of develops. You can start to see the big, heavy flagstones, elements of wall structure, and post-Roman floors starting to appear. Proper floor surfaces, where people lived their lives, did things, where occupational material comes out of the ground. Now in the course of the next couple of weeks, we're going to continue curving around here, taking this grass off, the turf off, get the complete circle, we'll map all the rubble very, very carefully, and then we've got the real challenge. We have to untangle this very gently to make sure we take the right stones out to see what this feature is. And what is it? We know it's post-Roman, it comes after the barracks, it's laid on top of everything, it's reusing some beautiful Roman stones. When we flip these stones over, are we going to find something exciting underneath? We're just going to find a floor? Are we going to get any sense of what this strange circular structure in a post-Roman fort used to be? Well, I guess you're going to have to watch Marta next time to find out. Let's go to the toilet block on the corner, see how they've been getting on with that. This toilet block down here behind me was excavated partially in the 1970s, partially in 1980, and they just did the loo. They didn't really do the access to the loo, they didn't do the area around it so much, but here we can really show you the build-up of material that's happened since that toilet was put in, probably sometime in the early 3rd century. So come around this way with me and let's look and see what the team have been doing. If we come on this little path down here, we see we have to climb down from the road surface, the Intervallum Road, we'll have a look at that in a moment, about 1.5 meters to get through the door of the loo. And as we cross over this rubble, we can see the team who've excavated really hard down here, this is difficult work, have started to uncover the little channels that fed the water to flush the channels on the other side, to flush the toilet. So all of this that I'm standing on, in its use at least, was contemporary with people putting their bums on the seats inside this latrine in the 3rd and 4th century. So everything from my knees right the way up to about here, over a metre of material, has built up through time since this toilet was installed. And I think people continue to use this space all the way into the 4th century up here. So in the next couple of weeks, what our challenge is going to be is to remove some of this bank, lower the road levels out here, and see if we can find what the access was for people to walk from up there inside the buildings, inside the fort, to actually use this facility. And when we look up beyond the loo, and we look at the street that was covered in plastic in the last period, we can see some real changes. So let's come up and have a look at that. We've still got a bit of plastic surviving, but under that, huge flagstones and a very, very cobbly street starting to emerge. But what I like about this street is look at the bump in the middle of it. I'm going to walk on it right now. Now what this is doing is it's mapping out, without us even excavating it, the building that's underneath the road under my feet. It's showing us what might be here next for us to explore once we've mapped and lifted this road surface out. It's heading towards our toilet block on the corner. So what is it? What is underneath this street that's linking towards the corner of the fort and heading towards our early toilet block? Well, we've got a couple of potential suggestions. One, it might be a much earlier, much larger loo than the little 14-seater we see down there today. Could be a housestead-style toilet block bolted onto the corner of the fort. But another possibility is at the other end of this street, built onto the rampart mound. And that's where we've made some really fantastic discoveries in the course of the last 2 weeks. So I'm just a little bit further down the road, the Intervallum Road. You'll remember this road from the first 2 periods. And across the road we have the rampart mound. You might also remember Marta talking about rampart ovens, and she was quite right, there were rampart ovens in there. But actually they were far bigger than we expected, and they're part of a complex that we think used to be the old smithy, the old blacksmith's workshop. And if we come a little bit away across the street here, we can see the foundations of a blacksmith's forge still sitting in the rampart mound. Here it is, this big circle coming around, all the stones very, very badly burnt by fire. It has a core of rubble packed with clay, and this is all fire damaged too. Unfortunately for us, it's not full of the fuel that they used to fire up this furnace. The actual bit where action took place is more or less where my hands are right now, and that's all been wiped out in the post-Roman period. But the heat and the intensity of the fire that was up here has stained the clay brick red underneath my toes. So it was quite a thing. And attached to this lovely forge, this furnace, on the other side, we're starting to get the trace elements, the remains of the workshop itself, and a lot of little bits of artifacts, a little bit of metal, combination of iron and bronze, copper alloy, that have been offcuts that have been used to melt down to make new things in this forge behind me. So why don't I go through the door of our little workshop? And we have these 2 walls which confused us for quite some time. So we thought, well, are they start of an oven? Was there another feature in here? No, they're actually the door leading into the forge. And behind me is a little low rubble wall. Now, in that rubble wall was probably a timber beam with a timber building coming up this side, just inset from the fort wall itself, offering shelter to the blacksmith who was doing his work inside this building. The building doesn't actually stretch as far as the forge itself. The forge is just outside the building and probably had its own awning or cover on it so the blacksmith could work in inclement weather. But this is a lovely thing to find, and it makes so much sense of all the bust up iron and artifacts we've been finding in this space. They're not quite complete, they're damaged. They've been brought into this space to be recycled, to be turned into other things. And hopefully, as we continue the excavations, we'll find more of this material. We'll find hammer spelt and other things which will tell us what sort of things have been cooking in the forge and how long this has been occupied for. So real progress the last couple of weeks, and it's been exciting to see 27 people on site working away in these spaces. But it's going to be even better when we get that little bit of rain, which will bring back the colours and show us all the things we just can't see right now because it's so warm and so dry.